Hey guys, we went to nearly 40 garage sales over Memorial Day weekend, and you're not going to believe what we found. All right guys, so I'm going to do a big reveal here. Now keep in mind, we went to over 40 garage sales on Memorial Day weekend. It was insane, and I'm going to show you what we picked up. Are you ready? All right, 3, 2. Hey guys, before we get into the rest of the video, I realized that I never did a proper introduction. So welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Andrew, and along with my wife Jessica, we run a full-time online reselling business named 5 Little Ducks Resale. So that's where we go to garage sales, thrift stores, and estate sales. We find items for cheap, and then we flip those items online for a profit on sites like Mercari, Poshmark, and eBay. All right, so now that that intro is out of the way, let's get back into it. All right, 3, 2, 1. Wait, where is everything? No, this is it. This is what we found. The scale is on here for a different reason. We found nothing. We went to nearly 40 garage sales, or even over 40 garage sales, and we came away with absolutely nothing. There was nothing to buy. Now, that doesn't mean that there was nothing for sale. There was a lot for sale, but just none of it worth reselling. There was baby clothes and broken stuff and little TV trays of knickknacks, but nothing. Needless to say, we were pretty down in the dumps after not finding anything. I mean, this is insane. I don't think we've ever gone to 40 garage sales in a day, let alone come home with nothing. But all is not lost, because when an opportunity is just around the corner, you never know when it's going to strike. And it did. So this door closed, but another one just opened up. So let me explain. I'm going to take you out to the garage. 1 second. Okay, so I'm in the very packed garage, and I'm sorry for this blinking light over here. It's kind of on the fritz. Go LED lights. So, like I said, one opportunity closed, which was the garage sales on Memorial Day weekend. However, these things right here and a whole lot of other stuff has opened up, and here we go. Look at all this. So let me explain what's going on here. So we have a relative who works in the automotive industry, and she works at one of the local automotive dealerships, let's say, and they underwent a change of ownership. And what we have here, and in all here, are brand new OEM, but older automotive parts. And so we were asked to consign these on the company's behalf. So this is kind of a new area of opportunity for us. So the nice thing is, you can see here that most of this stuff is all brand new sealed. It's just older parts. And so what we have are boxes of things over here and totes of smaller parts. So all of these big black plastic totes are just stock full, and all of these individual boxes are individual parts. Now we do have a few loose things like some wiper blades or whatnot, and I couldn't even begin to tell you what is all in here. But the nice thing is, and I did a little bit of research initially, but all of these genuine GM parts have obviously a part number, which you can then look up on eBay through eBay Motors, and it should come up in the catalog. Now that's what I'm at least hoping. I don't know if all of the parts will do that, or if I will have ones that I'll need to specifically look up. So there's going to be a lot of learning opportunities here to learn new areas of things. Now, the one downside, of course, is that I have this box with the part inside, right? So, but I don't know what it looks like because it's still sealed, right? So there's no way I'm going to open this up just so I can photograph it. So I have seen other listings that use like, GM does like an illustration of what the part is and what it looks like. And so I might have to do some of that magic and maybe look and see how other people are listing their parts. But I can't just open this box up and take pictures. Now I can take pictures of the actual box itself, but hopefully if I post this, or when this gets listed, I should say, you know, it'll have a part number. It'll be tied to the eBay Motors catalog so that someone is looking for this specific part number. It should come right up. They're going to know what they're looking for. They're probably not going to want a picture regardless. So now we do have a few loose parts here. So there's something here. There's something in this box. I don't really know. So we ended up basically renting a small U-Haul this morning, and we spent most of the day yesterday cleaning out this area in the garage, which has actually been on the to-do list for quite some time. So we actually killed two birds with one stone, but we actually filled up the garage again with this. But so, you know, like I said, when one opportunity closes itself, another will soon open. So let me just kind of give you a quick glimpse into what we have in here. Again, just boxes of parts. And this is like, you know, one listing by itself. And I might have a quantity of this. I don't know. I was given a manifest of the parts that we got, but they're not all together. So again, so this part here, you know, I might have a bunch of them, but they might be all over the place. I just don't know. And I probably won't know until I start diving into all this. So it's going to take some time to get through all this. But again, yeah, you never know when something like this is going to come up. Seeing these, it kind of gave me an interesting thing to talk about. So I think that these are like, I don't know if I can sell these because these are technically like hazmat, or you can see here it says safety devices. And so to be able to ship these, I don't know if just shipping this in this box will be enough, or if I am even supposed to be able to ship these or whatnot. Some of these are actually labeled hazards or hazmat. So I'm going to have to look up the, not the availability, but whether or not me as a shipper can ship these legally or whatnot. And they did say that if I couldn't, you know, sell this kind of part because it has hazardous materials or whatnot, then they would take those back and sell those or do something with them on their own. But the vast majority of these do not have hazardous materials attached to them. So, but I did see that some of them did. So it's just a matter of fact of the part itself. So this will be fun. I'm going to probably start going through at least these totes tomorrow. I'm going to start probably just bring a tote inside, and just start listing away, see what I can figure out. So hope you guys enjoy that. I will keep you posted on the progress. Like I said, it's a consignment deal, so we didn't pay for any of this stuff. We're just housing it on site, so it's going to be easier to ship once stuff starts selling. And so, you know, obviously the profit won't be as great as it would be if we would have purchased everything outright, but there's easily probably, well, I was told, you know, $20,000 to $30,000 worth of parts amongst the boxes in the totes here. So what that translates into profit for us, I don't know yet. And that might be a slow go. I don't know if these things are going to be fast sellers. I don't know if they're going to be slow sellers. We're just going to have to wait and see. But it's an opportunity, and we jumped on it. So wish us luck, and we will keep you posted. And hopefully we'll see some of these in some upcoming What Sold videos. Thank you for watching. So pretty crazy, huh? So again, like I said before, when one opportunity closes, another one surely will open up for you. So that's at least what happened to us. We have a garage full of auto parts now that I have been busy listing. So I've learned a lot, and I wanted to kind of correct a few things that I said in the video, because at that point I wasn't listing anything, and I was only kind of going on an assumption of what I was going to be encountering in eBay. So I was kind of correct in the sense that when parts are in the eBay product catalog, it's true that everything that part fits is actually tied to a kind of a back-end database. But that means that the part has to be in the catalog first in order for that to be the case. So let me kind of start over from scratch and kind of give you an idea of what I've been running up against. So let's just take a generic auto part. Let's just say, you know, part X. Well, obviously that part X can fit many different models, makes, and years of automobiles, right? And a lot of different websites will actually post this information. However, when you are trying to add that information into your listing on eBay Motors, you have to add that one by one. So you have to add the make, the model, the year, and the different engine types and body styles of each car. Now, it's not just as easy as doing a sell similar or using an older sold listing and doing a sell similar from there. That, what's called a fitment, doesn't copy over, or at least it didn't for me. I ended up calling eBay to discuss this issue with them because I thought it was kind of crazy that it was going to be left up to the individual seller to add all this back-end information when it should have already been tied into a specific part. So what they kind of told me was accurate in a sense. And I did find out that for the one part that I had, which was in the eBay catalog, all that fitment information was, yes, tied in. But now, again, that was only one part, and it's probably because I'm dealing with somewhat older parts, is that a lot of these things are not yet or may never be in the eBay product catalog. So therefore, I'm running into an issue about getting the right fitment information and so on and so forth. So I guess in the end, it's not super important that it's in there. Of course, I like to have my listings be 100% accurate, but the way I look at it is like this. So if I'm a car fanatic and I know the part number that I'm looking for, I already know the make and model of year of the car that I'm trying to fix up. And so that's not really relevant to me. I already know. And so it's not like I'm going to be scrolling through a bunch of eBay product listings for auto parts and just randomly picking one out and saying, oh, that looks interesting, maybe it'll fit. No, if I'm a car guy, I'm already going to know what it is that I'm looking for, the make and model, and so on and so forth. So I know this is a lot of new information, especially it is for me, but I just wanted to kind of clear the record that yes, the eBay product catalog does tie into these car parts, but the vast majority of the parts that I found that we have been listing are not in the catalog. And so it's just a lot of manual labor. And again, getting those stock pictures going can be a little bit of a challenge as well. But it has kept me quite busy. And those car parts certainly add up over time. So where we would add maybe a couple of $100 worth of listings per day, it's not uncommon for us to have been listing upwards of $1,000 in parts per day. So I'm curious to see how all of this new listing will affect our sales. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump into the sales portion of today's video. We got a lot of great sales from this time period. So we are looking actually from May 19 through May 25. And again, we got a lot of great sales. So let's jump into eBay like we normally do. And the first item was huge. This was the second of two trumpets that I had found recently at a garage sale. This was a Yamaha YTR 2330 student trumpet with case, mouthpiece, and slide grease. Now, this trumpet was cleaned and serviced. I brought both of the ones that I found into the local music store. I paid $50 for each trumpet and then a couple of $100, probably $150 each to get them cleaned and serviced. This was, again, the second of two that has sold. I took a best offer of $435 plus shipping. The next item up was from my father's estate. This was a vintage book of Ed DeBevick's matches. This was an unstruck book. It had all the matches inside, and it sold for $2.99 plus shipping. Now, some people might watch the channel and say, hey, why do you guys sell such low-priced items? Well, now that last item was just a freebie. It was in my dad's stuff. I thought somebody might want it somewhere. That restaurant is no longer in business, and so some enthusiast somewhere might have wanted it. But this next item is kind of a really good indication of why I tend to sell lower priced items, because sometimes they're not lower priced. Sometimes they can be worth a lot. Case in point, this next item. This was a vintage 1989 Applause Nintendo Super Mario Bros. Princess Peach figure. This I pulled out of a bin of toys. I think I paid $1/4 for it, but this ended up selling for $24.99 plus shipping. The next item up was a discontinued Scentsy bar. This was the Cucumber and Cactus Water 3.2 ounce aroma wax cubes. This sold for $8.99 plus shipping. Next up was one of the 31 bags that I had featured on a recent haul video. This was a 31 fold-up family organizer in the Candy Corners pattern, and it sold for $14.99 plus shipping. This next item was one of the many multitudes of items from our LEGO Mania haul. This was the Transformers Dark of the Moon MechTech Cyberfire Bumblebee. He was complete with blaster, and he sold for $19.99 plus shipping. Now, whenever I see these next items at garage sales, I'll usually pick them up if they're fairly cheap. I believe this one was rolled into a bundle lot, but I couldn't have paid more than $1 for it. This was a Haynes Auto Repair Manual. This was number 36071 for the Ford Ranger pickup, 1993 through 2005, all models. This ended up selling for $12.99 plus shipping. Next up, we had this British Army Brigade of Guards wire embroidered bullion blazer. This ended up selling for $9.99 plus shipping. The next item was this vintage General Foods Tang 2-inch Big Lips figure with Teddy, and this sold for $2.99 plus shipping. Now this next item, I think I paid about a quarter or 50 cents at a half-off estate sale. This was a vintage 1984 Hall & Oates hot pink 1.5-inch concert pin, and this sold for $6.99 plus shipping. Now, speaking of pins, this next item is also a pin that we picked up from that big Army haul. This was the U.S. Army 95th Adjutant General Battalion Unit Crest pin, which sold for $4.99 plus shipping. Next up, we had another one of those 31 item sell. This one was the 31 Made in the Shade Black Car Visor Organizer in the crosshatch pattern, and this sold for $9.99 plus shipping. Next up, we had this vintage Schaefer pen. This was a Schaefer Fashion Baby Blue ballpoint pen with sleeve and box. It was made in USA, but the pen was not actually working. However, it did sell for $9.99 plus shipping. Now, I don't just make videos about reselling. I actually do consume a lot of reselling content on YouTube as well. And I was up late one night watching a bunch of videos, and I ran across this seller who was going through different brands of clothing that had really high sell-through rates. And she was featuring men's polo shirts. And this was one of the brands that I happened to note down, and at a local thrift store, I actually ran across one. This was a Roback brand men's polo. It was red, white, and blue striped. It had a USA flag on the back, and it sold for $39.99 plus shipping. Now, I did actually drop the price just a little bit because there was a small defect on the front, and had that not been there, I probably could have gotten at least $50 for it. The next item up was a Vera Bradley bag. This was the Ribbons Plaid pattern zip closed tote bag, and it sold for $24.99 plus shipping. The next item was this Ty Beanie Baby. He was Decade, the Confetti Sparkly Bear. He ended up selling for $5.99 plus shipping. Next up was a pair of pants. These were Levi's 550 Relaxed Bootcut Women's Size 10 denim jeans, and these sold for $19.99 plus shipping. Now, these next two items that sold together were actually featured in a recent haul video. Now, it was the one where I went to the sale where the people weren't actually looking to make a profit, and I thought that was kind of strange, but I did end up paying them a little bit of money for these items, but they ended up selling quite well. These were those two vintage Revel models. These were the Werner's motorcycle and the Werner figure. Remember, these were the German ones. And I actually got an offer on both of these for full asking price, but free ship. And I actually came back and offered an additional $10 just to help cover the cost of shipping. And they actually agreed. And so these two together sold for $150 free ship. Next up, we had another U.S. Army pin. This time it was a specialist pin. This was a U.S. Army E4 specialist rank insignia pin. This was in what's called the subdued or black finish, and it sold for $3.99 plus shipping. The next item was from our vintage VHS find. This was Gremlins from 1985. It was a used VHS tape, but it had the slip cover. Of course, it's always a great holiday horror movie to watch. This ended up selling for $12.99 plus shipping. And yet another item sold from our vast LEGO Mania haul. This was a Batman figure from 2004, Batman the Animated Series. It was a 10-inch posable action figure, and he sold for $9.99 plus shipping. Following that was one of our many blue LSU hats. This was a navy blue Louisiana State University embroidered strapback hat, new with tags, and it sold for $9.99 plus shipping. Now I remember growing up with transformers and they were fairly easy to transform, but this next one was so complex I didn't even want to give it a shot. This one was Mixmaster. He was a 2009 Transformers from the Revenge of the Fallen movie. He was complete and he sold for $24.99 plus shipping. Yeah, I even watched a few YouTube videos on how to transform this guy and I was completely lost. And I think I even had the instructions for this one. And I gave up. I said, nope, I'm just going to photograph it as is. It's in its robot form, and that's where it's going to stay. The next item was this vintage Wolf Creek Nuclear Operating Corporation 3-inch embroidered patch. And this ended up selling for $9.99 plus shipping. Next up was another VHS tape. This time it was Labyrinth, the vintage David Bowie fantasy sci-fi flick with Jennifer Connelly. And this ended up selling for $9.99 plus shipping. And now the final eBay sale of the video was actually a couple of different things put together. So a customer came in and bought 3 knives and a sticker pack. They were the Gibson Coca-Cola handle stainless flatware knives. They ended up buying 3 of those. And they also picked up this vintage 1997 Stickety-Doo Farm Life sticker pack. And together, these all sold for $17.96 plus shipping. So like I said earlier, eBay had some great sales for that time period. So let's go ahead and move over to Mercari. Now Mercari has been kind of hit or miss, but as of late, we've had also some good sales on there. So let's dive right in. We'll start off Mercari with this. This was a new sealed Yahtzee game, classic Yahtzee, an exciting game of skill and chance by Hasbro. Ended up selling this for $12 plus shipping. Next up was this vintage Hog Hunter fishing patch. This was a new old stock item, still sealed, and this ended up selling for $8.50 plus shipping. The next item was this 11-inch gunned panda bear. He looked black and white, but was actually navy blue and just off-white. But regardless, he ended up selling for $20 plus shipping. And already the last Mercari sale of this time period was a set of 2 vintage VHS tapes. This was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, both 1 and 2 Secret of the Ooze. Together these sold for $15 plus shipping. All right, let's finally swing over to Poshmark. We have 3 sales there. The first one was this vintage 1987 Sesame Street Muppets Grover action picture frame by Applause. It was a 3-inch by 5-inch frame, and it sold for $15 plus shipping. Next up was a camera. This was the Fujifilm Instax Mini 8 instant film camera in the raspberry red shade. It came with 1 pack of film, and it sold for $30 plus shipping. And the last sale of Poshmark, and of course the last sale of the video, was this vintage 1983 Wizard of Id comic strip 5-inch collectible glass from Arby's. It sold for $14 plus shipping. Well guys, that's about all that I had for today's video. I appreciate you watching all the way this far. Now, if you enjoyed this sort of reselling content, go ahead and click the like button and even consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help us out. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you next time.